My name is Phil Rivera. I'm with the LA County Registrar's Office, Governmental Legislative Affairs Division, and I'm here to talk to you about voting solutions for all people. Now, voting solutions for all people wasn't always a solution. 10 years ago, this was an assessment. It was a voting system assessment project. And what we were doing 10 years ago is we were looking at what was on the market as far as voting systems, and we saw that nothing out there really met the needs of LA County. Whether you realize it or not, LA County is the largest, most diverse voting jurisdiction in the nation. Our population in LA County is larger than the state population of 42 out of 50 states. So we definitely needed something robust and something flexible. Now, what we also found in doing that assessment is we found that the corporations that made voting equipment, they made it for two reasons. Well, actually one reason, to sell. But they had to get federal certification, so they were working on getting certified federally, and they had to get state certification. And we looked at that and said, what's the problem with this formula? There's something missing. And what we found was missing was the voter. They never went to the voter. They went to the federal government and said, what does a voting system have to have? Great, we could do that. State, what do you want? Yeah, we could do that. They never asked the voter. So 10 years ago, we went to the voters. And we asked the voters, what do you want in a voting system? 10 years later, we came up with what we believe is a solution for all people. So my goal today is to provide you with information to take back to your community. Again, LA County is huge. I rely on a collaborative effort with the communities I serve. I want you to go back, tell your friends, neighbors, relatives what you saw today. And we're gonna have an opportunity to try out the actual ballot marking device today. So getting started, the new voter experience. It consists of a 7-component system. Now let's actually start down here on the bottom right with the new vote-by-mail experience. The new vote-by-mail experience actually rolled out about a year ago. How many people in here are vote-by-mail voters? Quite a few. Excellent, excellent. The statistics hold true. Now, vote-by-mail, with the changes we've made, it's now a full-face, human-readable ballot. What does that mean? It means the ballot is no longer a little Scantron sheet. It's a full-size sheet of paper, and human-readable means it's written in words. It doesn't have a bunch of Scantron dots. So you'll see actual candidate names and contest names. Much cleaner, much easier to read. The biggest change to vote by mail, the biggest two changes are A, you no longer need a stamp. Postage is no longer necessary to deliver your vote by mail. And B, they changed the law about who can submit your vote by mail. In the past, the only person other than yourself that could submit it would be a relative or a member of your household, okay? They changed the law. They said now you can have anybody submit it for you. We're election administrators, that's the law, that's how we'll run the election. But I do want to caution the public, please, that's your only ballot. Please only surrender it to someone you absolutely know and trust. Please take that information back. Now moving on, the first piece on the lower left-hand corner is the electronic poll book. As I go through these, by the end of the presentation, you're going to see that while the equipment we use to interact with our ballot in the democratic process has changed, the process from the voter's point of view is still relatively unchanged. For example, electronic poll books. In the past, when we checked in at a polling place, we signed in on a paper roster. In 2020, for this primary and moving forward, we're signing in on electronic poll books. What is an electronic poll book? It's basically an iPad with specialized software to show us the voter database. Okay? What does that mean though? Since I have the entire voter database at my disposal on that poll book, I could check you in anywhere in the county. Outside of Duarte, within Duarte, anywhere, and I could provide you with your home ballot. So someone who's working in Lancaster for the day and isn't going to make it back down in time to vote or saw a vote center next door to where they were working can pop in there, and even though they're in Lancaster, when they check in, they'll see that they're a Duarte voter and they will receive a Duarte ballot. Okay? No more voting provisionally and missing out on our home contests, right? And our home contests are actually where our vote has the most power. We've also moved to a modern tally system. Now, when I say tally, that's the term we use for actually counting the ballots, okay? The reason we changed to a modern tally system is because we have new ballots. We needed equipment that could accommodate the size of the new ballots, but it also came with some advantages. In the past, once the polls closed on election day, we had to collect all those hundreds of thousands of ballots and then resort them back into precinct order, okay? And then we could only tally one precinct at a time. Okay, here's precinct 1345. Great, now give me another precinct. Here's this one. With the new system, I could put ballots from across the county all in one stack, and on the fly, it's able to recognize where that ballot came from, tally that ballot, and it does an additional step. It creates a digital copy of that ballot. This way, heaven forbid, lightning strikes our warehouse and the whole thing burns down and we have no more ballots, we'll still have a digital record of that election. Okay, so it's a fail-safe there. We've also moved to an option of an interactive sample ballot, ISB, because we're government, we got to put initials on everything. Interactive sample ballot, and I do want to remind, or I do want to state again, that this is optional. In 10 years of focus groups, I tend to move, let me stay by the mic. In 10 years of focus groups, we found a large contingency of folks when we asked, hey, how do you want to vote? They said, right here, on my phone, American Idol style. And we said, okay, thank you for the input, but we're not ready to do that yet. However, we did meet them halfway. So what was the compromise we made? Well, you can receive your sample ballot via email. I currently do that to save paper. Paper is #1 cost of every election. In a county with 5.4 million registered voters, that's a lot of paper, that's a lot of trees. What you can do in 2020 is get your sample ballot via email, look at it on your home PC or on your phone, and again, this is just optional, and you're able to pre-mark your choices, not unlike when you get your paper sample ballot and you're pre-marking your choices. The difference is, once you're done pre-marking your choices, you will get a QR code. That's those black squiggly barcode looking things. That QR code, you simply print it out or keep it on your phone screen. When you approach your ballot marking device, you'll scan that QR code and it'll populate your ballot for you. Simply a time saver. So imagine you receive your sample ballot via email, you take some time, study, make all your choices, and on the weekend you happen to be going shopping with your family down at the local grocery store and you see there's a vote center there. You could pop into that vote center, scan your sample ballot, populates your real ballot, hit cast, and you're good to go. In and out inside of 5 minutes. And again, that is optional. You do not need a smartphone or a computer in order to vote. That's just another option. Again, we're trying to create a solution for all people. Now, what you see in the middle there, that's our ballot marking device. That's the device with which we interact with our ballot. Coincidentally, in the past, those little ink pens and those little Scantrons you used, that was also called a ballot marking device. This is just updated. What I want to point out first and foremost about this device is that it is not connected to the internet in any way, shape, or form. That device you see sitting there, you'll see it only has one cable coming out of it, and that's for power. Okay? This is not, I repeat, this is not an electronic voting system. This is a paper-based voting system. We still have a paper ballot with this. All we're doing is using a touch screen to interact with our ballot. The new ballot marking device is fully accessible. The screen tilts from flat all the way to beyond 90 degrees. I have seen a woman with no arms able to sit down in front of this device and cast a ballot with her toe. Okay. The ballot marking device also contains a self-contained ballot box. What does that mean? That means from the time you check in and we issue your ballot and you cast that ballot, no one else will touch it until it gets back to Norwalk and we tally it on election night. Okay? Much more secure. Another change we made is to the voting period. In 10 years of focus groups, one question we asked folks is, why did you not vote or why did you miss the last election? #1 answer, I didn't have time on that day. I didn't have time on that day. That day being Tuesday. Well, how do we remedy that? The state passed the Voters' Choice Act, and the voting period is now an 11-day period. It begins, for this primary, the voting period begins on February 22nd, and will run all the way through March 3rd, okay? That includes 2 weekends. We're gonna have two types of voting centers. We're gonna have 11-day voting centers. Those are vote centers that'll be open from February 22nd all the way through March 3rd, and we're gonna have some 4-day centers. 4-day centers, typically, think of a school, right? We can't take a school's cafeteria away for 11 days. They already give it to us on Tuesdays. We're asking for 1 extra day on Monday, plus Saturday and Sunday, which the school is closed anyways. So schools are perfect examples of 4-day centers. Oh, we also have 3 sizes of vote centers. They're, what are the 3 sizes? Tall, grande, and, oh, no. Hold on, scratch that. Can we edit that out, guys? The 3 sizes are small, medium, and large. Okay, small, medium, and large. A small vote center is going to have 10 to 15 of these devices ready for your use. Medium, 25 to 30, and a large vote center will have 50 devices. Now, the biggest difference between vote centers and polling places, as you can see from the number of devices they hold, is size. We're moving away from the small polling places that could accommodate 4 or 5 polling booths, and we're moving to large vote centers, which coincidentally, these were all identified by members of the community. We held over 70 meetings countywide. We didn't pretend to know the best places to vote everywhere in LA County while we're sitting over in Norwalk. We went to the communities. We went to Lancaster. Where do you guys want to vote up here in Lancaster? We went to Pomona. Where would you like to vote? We went to Venice. Where would you guys like to vote? We went across the county, and the community responded. We received over 4,000 recommended locations. We whittled that down to 1,000, which we'll see for this election. And we already talked about the new vote by mail experience. Now that I've said all that, let me show you a video, and most of you are going to go, hey, Phil, why don't you just start with the video and not waste all your time talking to us? The video is much more entertaining. Let's see.
The election is just around the corner, and Los Angeles County has a new way for voters to make their voices heard. New Los Angeles County vote centers are located throughout the county. Cast your ballot near your home, work, or favorite park. Voters can go anywhere. To find a vote center that's convenient, visit lavote.net and find one that works best for you. Instead of waiting for one day to vote, you are now able to vote across 11 days. Once you've arrived, a vote center assistant will greet you and check you in before taking you to the ballot marking device. Did you know that there is a new interactive sample ballot that lets you pre-mark your selections online and generate a poll pass? A unique QR code that will let you quickly transfer, review, and cast your selections on a paper ballot at the County Vote Center. The new ballot marking device includes an audio ballot, a touch screen, and a tactile keypad to make voting faster and more accessible. You can also select your language, change the font size, and adjust the contrast for easy viewing. Then, after you make your selections or scan your poll pass, you can review your ballot to verify your choices and cast your ballot by feeding the paper ballot back into the ballot marking device. There's no need to give your ballot to a vote center assistant. You cast it on the same device. Welcome to the future of voting in Los Angeles County. Fast, convenient, and easy. Go to vsap.lavote.net to exercise your right to vote and let your voice be heard.
Thank you very much. It is a nice video. By the number of smiles, I think people are agreeing with what they see so far. I do want to point out at the beginning, they said cast your ballot near your home, work, or favorite park. I know some of you heard favorite bar because I saw you perk up right away. So you don't have to admit who you are, but I saw it out there. So here's some of the questions we asked. As stated earlier, we asked why voters missed a past election. Number one answer was too busy on that day. And in choosing vote centers and recommending to the public where people should have, or not recommending where they should have, and when asking for where we should have vote centers, we asked people, where would you like to vote or drop off ballot? Number one answer, public libraries, 2 local elementary schools, community centers, rec centers, all the typical answers. For Duarte, I believe the nearest vote centers are Santa Teresita Hospital and City Hall, and I think there's one other location which we could check at the end with the city clerk. This City Hall, in this building, right here. This will be a vote center. And I believe this is going to be a 4-day vote center, correct? So, Royal Oaks Park, that's the one. Santa Teresita is the only 11-day, all the rest are 4-day, correct? So the 4-day vote center that starts here will begin on February 29th, the weekend before the actual election day. Now, while we've expanded the voting period to 11 days, I don't want you to think that we're going to tally ballots every day for that 11-day period. No ballots will be tallied until the polls close on election night proper, on Tuesday, March 3rd at 8 p.m. when the polls closed. Then we could start tallying ballots. We definitely do not want to start tallying on the first day of the primary. Someone jumps out to an early lead and then it discourages other voters. Not at all. So no ballots will be tallied until close of polls on election day proper. Here's an example of a layout of a vote center. On the side, you can see that not only do we have very many devices, we're trying to design a system. While we do not have a history of having long lines at the vote centers or polling locations in Los Angeles County, we want to ensure that we never have lines. So here you see a system where we have a medium-sized vote center. And note that we have all the clerical staff that check you in, all our poll worker, all our vote center employees, but you'll note there are also people meandering around within the devices. So understanding that this is a completely new system, at every vote center there will be additional people whose job it is simply to walk around and proactively offer assistance to folks. It will also be their job to provide you with an I voted sticker once you're done. That was the next most asked question. Do we still get an I voted sticker? In fact, I think I already got that question today by someone. Now, I stated that this system is not connected to the internet. All I need is power to run the system, and that you, the voter, could check in anywhere in the county and have access to your home ballot. Because of that, we've also made an investment in mobile vote centers, which you see on the right. That is actually a trailer. We're able to tow that around, pop down the walls, and set up a voting center on the spot. How is this advantageous? Well, think of someone who lives in an assisted living community. Transportation could be an issue. The director of an assisted living community now has an 11-day period in which to assist their residents with voting. And they would do that by giving us a call, making an appointment. And we may say, oh, great, on Wednesday, we'll be out there from 8 to noon. We could drive out, set up in the parking lot, and then the residents simply have to come out to the parking lot. They don't have to travel anywhere. Or in LA County, we have a population nearing 60,000 people experiencing homelessness. We could take this unit out to Skid Row, pop up there, and those folks would have an opportunity to vote. So we're truly trying to create a system for all voters. The mobile vote centers, a great question. Those will be posted at lavote.net also. So as they're scheduled, they will be posted. Great question. Here's an example of the interactive sample ballot I talked about. On the left, you see someone pre-marking their choices on their phone. Again, they're not voting, they're just pre-marking their choices. The next step, you see that the program has given them a QR code. From there, they go to their nearest vote center. If it's chilly out, make sure you put on your cool scarf. And then that person simply scans his QR code, and his ballot will be populated in and out inside of 5 minutes or so. This is an image of the ballot marking device. Those that haven't got to try it yet, you'll note on the very first image, you see the back of the device. That's the integrated ballot box. Once you're done voting, as you saw in the video, you simply cast it right onto the same device. Again, when you check in and issued your ballot, nobody else will touch that ballot until it gets back to Norwalk and we tally it on election night. We also see someone in a wheelchair voting. I've seen a person, think Stephen Hawking, quadriplegic, paralyzed from the neck down. His assistant put a headband on him that had a small stylus, and this gentleman was able to navigate up to the device and cast a ballot using the stylus on his forehead. Yes, some of the largest supporters of this has been disability community. Disability Rights California has sat on our guidance boards for the entire 10-year period. In their words, our community has been relegated to vote by mail for decades, simply because you did not have equipment that met our needs. And the equipment you did have, an audio ballot booth, you set it up off on one corner, the rest of the community is voting over here, and we're on display voting on this paltry piece of audio equipment. Now we have a single device that meets the needs of all voters. Here's another little video that kind of exemplifies the use of the ballot marking device. Let's take a look at this one. So before I wrap, I started out stating this was designed for the voter. And the process for the voter, while the equipment we're using has changed, the process for the voter is relatively unchanged. Let's look at the process. Now, in the past, I had to go to a polling place. Now, I go to a vote center. Okay, vote centers are more conveniently located, near public transportation, larger, we're not gonna have lines. In the past, I checked in and signed in on a paper roster. Now I'm checking in on an electronic poll book. What's another advantage of this poll book, other than being able to check in anywhere in the county and have access to your whole ballot? Well, I'll be able to track voters in real time. So I, Phil Rivera, if I vote in Norwalk, they will know instantly in my home city of Glendora that I already voted. So if I show up there, they'll be able to say, hey, Phil, you already voted. An additional security feature. In fact, if someone comes in and says, hey, or we see that they're a vote by mail voter and they do not have a vote by mail ballot to surrender, we could remotely spoil that vote by mail ballot. So if it does happen to find its way to our office, when they scan it and try and process it, it's gonna come up as spoiled because that person has voted at the polls. So additional security features. Now this system, because LA County is the largest in the nation, there's a lot of eyes on this system. If it works in LA County, it's gonna work up in Yolo County in Central California, okay? Imagine a time that if this system was adopted statewide, I could track voters in real time. Someone would not be able to vote over in Newport Beach and then cross the county line and come over here and vote again. We would know that they already voted in Newport Beach. Another advantage is it offers what the public is calling same-day voter registration, which we call conditional voter registration. So somebody moves down here the day before election and says, oh my gosh, I didn't have time to re-register. I really want to vote in this presidential contest. No problem. We could register them on the spot. Now on the back end, their ballot will still be held. We have to do the typical background check with address, make sure the address is a residential address. We have to make sure they're not already registered somewhere else. If they are, we cancel that registration and get this one going. We have to make sure their signature matches. We have to do all that before we actually tally that ballot. But again, it removes that barrier from someone who didn't realize there was a close of registration date. Someone who just moved to LA and didn't have time to re-register. They will still have an opportunity to vote. Now third, when you check in, the poll worker, the vote center worker will hand you your ballot. Well, that remains unchanged. You're still handed a ballot, and it's still, as stated, a paper ballot. In the past, we would go up to a voting booth. In the present, we're still going up to a voting booth, but instead of finding a little ink pen and the Scantron, we're gonna have this touch screen and a printer. Fifth step, you actually make your choices, and again, in the past, we made our choices with that little ink pen. Now we're using either a QR code with our interactive sample ballot, or we're using our finger on a touchscreen to make the choices. And finally, 6, you cast your ballot. And again, as stated in the past, you would have to take your ballot, walk it across the room, and hand it off to a vote center worker to cast that ballot. That is no longer the case. You cast the ballot on the same device you voted on. Again, from the time we hand you your ballot, nobody else is going to touch that ballot until it gets back to Norwalk, and we tally it on election night proper, March 3rd. And yes, finally, someone runs up and provides you with your I voted sticker. Leading up to 2020, here's some additional data for you. We did have over 70 vote center placement plan community meetings. Again, that's when we went to the community and asked, where would you like to vote in 2020? Back in September, we had a county-wide mock election. We had 50 sites. We tested. That was our first wide-scale deployment of this device. Election administration plan. The state requires an election administration plan. This was up for public review and has now been submitted to the state. You can still see a copy of it on our website. And at this point, we've done over 500 VSAT presentations across the county and counting. Now, this is how many presentations my team has done. I've also trained the outreach team from Los Angeles City to do this. So they've been out there hitting Los Angeles City. It's a very large city, going all the way up to the valley, down to the beaches. They've been spreading the word for us. And there's a number of very active groups. Think League of Women Voters. I believe League of Women Voters here in the Monrovia area were also trained, and they've done some presentations. So the word is definitely getting out to the community. I would almost guarantee that if I asked how many people have heard a radio ad or seen a billboard, that most of you, I see a lot of hands already going up. Yeah, so we're making a mass media blitz. We're definitely getting the word out to the community. Full implementation began in January with the media blitz. February, we start voting. Some people have asked, well, Phil, if I show up and I don't want to use this, can I still use the old device? No, that device was actually decertified by the state at the end of 2019. This is our device moving forward. One nice thing about this device, or not one, another nice thing about the device, is it's designed to be modular. What does that mean? We're trying to future-proof it. So right now we have a touch screen on there. In development, we've seen screens that follow your pupils around, so you don't even have to touch it. Follows your eyes around, and you blink when you're looking at the candidate you want. Well, if that becomes mass produced, we could simply take this out and replace it with that new, better touch screen. We don't have to scrap the whole system and start fresh. February 22nd is voting, and then again, election day is March 3rd. Speaking of that system, Microsoft, you guys have all heard of Microsoft? They actually came to us a couple weeks ago. Microsoft is developing election software for those corporations that build election equipment. In their words, we're 3 to 4 years ahead of anybody else in the election game. And we're just a government agency that developed it on our own, but we started from scratch, and we started with the voter in mind first. If you want to find more information, we have social media, we have Facebook, go to lavote.net, we have links to everything there. There's tons of information. Dean tweets frequently with additional information. You can go to our website, vsap.lavote.net, for more information. There are a number of informational one-pagers, which your city clerk was nice enough to condense down and create a small booklet. I hope you all picked that up. That's a great asset out there. And if you have questions, you can email them to vsap@rrcc.lacounty.gov.